I'm Liz McGloughlin, co-founder and CEO of Tympany Medical, and we are an endoscope company which are aiming to disrupt endoscopic ear surgery and further innovate in endoscope procedures for other clinical indications. We're still finalising our MVP. So as a medical device company, you might be aware, Mark, that there's a lot of work goes on before any MVP gets to market. So our MVP is a single-use endoscope for ear surgery, allowing surgeons to use a two-handed operating technique, which they currently aren't afforded with the devices on the market at the moment. So we were very lucky the way it started. We were funded through the Enterprise Ireland Commercialisation Fund in NUI Galway. And so we managed to support ourselves for a lot of the early phases. We are still managing to pay ourselves through grant mechanisms. And I suppose we've always managed to pay ourselves. It's just maybe not that much. I didn't know the co-founder, Rory O'Callaghan, was a founding engineer in a company called Multihog. So he would have worked in startup before, but we never, and he also owned a design consultancy. So he would have had more experience in running his own business than I would have in the past. So we are still we haven't launched our product yet. So we are hoping to have FDA approval for our first device in Q3 of 2021. And for that, I'm sure we'll be opening a bottle of champagne. We were very lucky in the way that we did BioInnovate, which is a program based in NUI Galway. Yeah, it's a bit of a hard question actually for someone who hasn't launched yet. But so in terms of accessing clinical expertise, my background is in clinical medicine, so I understood the clinical need, and we worked together to identify key opinion leaders that we could collaborate with. In particular, we've since the beginning of our project, we've worked closely with the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, been very supportive of our product development. As well as that, we are currently working with a clinical leads in Leiden University in the Netherlands, and also we've worked with otologists based in NUI Galway, Professor Ivan Keogh also. So all of these clinical opinion leaders have been crucial to both the design and development of our product, but also will be subsequently crucial when we launch on the market to allow us to get market traction. So we are in a space that has traditionally been a reusable model. And initially we worked towards becoming a single-use product. However, at the moment, we've actually moved towards a product-service combination revenue model. And this is due to the fact that we're looking to build a company that's more sustainable. So our endoscopes will go initially as sterile endoscopes to the surgeon, but we aim to introduce circular manufacturing into our business in the future, which will allow us to reduce the amount of waste generated by these endoscopes. And for that reason, our revenue model will be based on a product-service combination, which is in addition to being a disruptive medical device. We've sought most of our investment. We've been supported by grant mechanisms to date and are currently in the process of raising further equity investment. But I suppose in medical devices in particular, there's a huge amount of grant support required to get you from your concept to your MVP and beyond. So we've been very lucky in the applications that we've put in for through Enterprise Ireland, EIT Health, and the DCIF program as well, which we were successful in receiving. So it's a lot of grants required for medical device startups, a lot of application writing, grant writing, which you get pretty good at after a while. And that's where the finance will start, and then subsequently building the story for the private investors as well. So we've just recently gained private investment from EIT Health as well in the form of their amplifier investment mechanism, which is investment of 500,000 into Tympany Medical. So that's kind of the start of our our private investment journey that we're beginning at the moment. So with MedTech, there's a lot of areas that you need to look at. So you have to always look at your safety and efficacy, the clinical need, the regulatory restrictions, reimbursement market, and also because each market is different, you have to kind of understand the kind of global marketplace. And particularly for medical devices, there's a lot of focus on the US market, who would be the biggest spenders in medical devices. And so we would have done market research on the clinical need. We've worked with regulatory specialists based on how do we get approval for a device. So we will go through what's known as a 510K pathway in the US. And then we'll also get CE marking subsequently, but the Europe and the US have slightly different models. So in order to be attractive to the investors, you need to really understand and have a depth of knowledge regarding all the barriers to entry, of which there are many in medical devices. We are working, so our MVP will have a standard endoscope lens using chip-on-tip technology, and our DTIF project will look at a rotating eyeball camera system, which we will hope to integrate into, first of all, into ear surgery, our beachhead market, and then subsequently into other markets. I think from my perspective, my background is clinical medicine, so I would have always felt on the back foot around the financial modelling. We've been really lucky to work with a great accountant, but I think in the future we'll require someone who's a dab hand at Excel in the company, which we don't have at the moment. And I suppose my co-founder is fantastic. He's part of the team, and probably the reason why we've been so successful is he's got a very good approach to kind of envisioning where things can go. So I'm pretty happy with my team. I suppose clinicians wouldn't be as familiar with the design cycles required to get a product to market. So often they'll say, oh, can we have this feature and we have that feature? And it is important that as a team, we're very clear about what our end goal is. One of the ways to avoid it is time. So if you're time limited in your funding, you have to reach a conclusion before the time runs out. And really beneficial is actually one of the clinicians we're currently working with. He's an engineer by training also, so he understands that there can't just be constant feature creep. So it's about choosing those you collaborate with from a feature perspective, and knowing when, if you don't have the time to keep developing. So it's definitely a learning process, but knowing when to say no is the key. As a mother of two small babies, I don't know how I deal with distractions. I'm distracted permanently. The first thing is that context switching is really, really common in medical training. So my background in anesthesia and ICU, it's very much you're moving from one task to the next, and there's often interruptions, and you have to change what you're doing very quickly. So that's been a good part of my training that I've brought into the startup aspect of building Tympany. The other thing is, I suppose when you're time poor, you become more focused. So often I'll have done no work for a day if I've had both children for the day, and at 8 o'clock I'll send 5 emails and all of a sudden I'll have a day's work done. So it's about kind of trying to find those moments of high productivity as opposed to sitting at your desk for 8 hours of the day and banging your head against the wall to some extent. If you're short on time, often you make decisions much more quickly. I make quicker decisions about the business than I do about what I wear in the morning sometimes, because it's just you're shorter on time. But I think that for young parents, there's no right time to have children. There's no right time to start a business. It's kind of the same premise. You just have to go with what your gut is telling you. And I suppose we've been working on Tympany Medical now for almost 4 years, between I was working clinically initially, and then I was on my first maternity leave. And so you start to get used to the chaos and the juggling act, but it is a massive juggling act. can I pay everyone next month? No, just being able to pay your bills the following month, I think is like, that's what I deem as my most important job, is focusing on immediate term cash flow and long-term strategy. Having people who actually want to work with you. So what I've noticed in the last few months is that there's more people seeking to work with us, but also I think we're making more progress more quickly, and we're gaining our credibility from that perspective, that we're kind of fulfilling what we said we would do. I'm not sure if that's a KPI, or is it just kind of having more collaborators and more staff. Like we're building our team, and having people who want to work with our team, I think is something that I am excited about.